All right. Well, I am here to talk about Commonwealth schools, and probably the most common question I get is, what's the difference between a Commonwealth and a co-op? And the answer is, a co-op is just like, or a Commonwealth is just a co-op on steroids, but that's not really true. A co-op is kind of like, I have this idea and I'm in charge, and it's very kind of loosely organized. You're offering something that maybe other people want to be a part of or want to try out, or there's not like a lot of like serious organization within a co-op usually. And usually it's run by like maybe one or two, maybe three moms. That's been my experience anyway when I am with a co-op. A Commonwealth, however, is governed with an actual board, and many of them do actually apply for nonprofit status and actually function like a school, but they only meet once a week. I know of some up north that meet 3 times a week, which is a lot for parents, but a Commonwealth school is basically a scholar project for parents in a way. And so, and we're going to talk about scholar projects. Who's going to talk about that? She's going to talk about that. Okay. So anyway, there's usually a governing board. Parents are the teachers oftentimes. You can find people in the community that are willing to offer their services, which has been really amazing when that happens, because that means that it's not a parent that might be putting way too much on their plate to stretch themselves too thin. So anyway, you just have to be really careful with that, and especially in Commonwealth schools, because parents volunteer a lot of their time. They mentor the classes. They come up with the ideas of what it is their families need. The board, usually, how I have always started a Commonwealth school is, I will meet with my board members, and I'll let them know what my family needs are, and then we go from there. Do we have the same needs? Does our families have the same needs? And then we start to create from there. So that's kind of how a Commonwealth school works and operates. I have been a part of a lot of Commonwealth schools. The first one I was ever a part of was Washington County Commonwealth, which is now Dixie Leadership Academy. And I was in that very first year with Amy Buller. And that one is still running. I'll tell you about all the Commonwealths in the area. So we have Dixie Leadership Academy, which is a school that is 0 to 18. And they cap out usually around 30 families. And they have a junior school where they go off of the Thomas Jefferson Education model, that one specifically. And so there's like the core phases, or the phases of learning that they kind of go by based off of age bracket. And that's kind of how that's set up. Now, so that one is more family orientated, where the whole family can go. Then there is a smaller one up north in Diamond Valley, and they're called North Star Leadership Academy. And they are, again, family-based. I don't know if they are running any scholar projects at the moment. Yeah. Are they? Yeah. Oh, no, they just finished Key of Liberty, didn't they? Yeah. So, again, it's 0 to 18. It's more families. Fire Canyon Academy is one that I started several years ago with Leslie Leonard and a couple of other moms. Lori Murray was one of them too. So anyway, and the reason why, and I'll have to tell you this, is like when you get into a Commonwealth, you start to like feel like and make these bonds, and like you're like, oh my gosh, I have found my people. These are the most amazing moms I've ever met in my whole life. And they support me and they love me and they love my kids and they support my kids. And it just turns into like this really beautiful community of like helping each other, understanding each other, and working together to help each other out with our educational goals, which is something that's so beautiful and it's so amazing. But for me, I had been part of Dixie Leadership Academy for probably 7 years before I decided to start like another one, because, and the reason why is because I just was in like a very different phase of life. I had just had my baby, and my oldest daughter was 14, and I just felt like she couldn't drive yet, and I just felt like I was nursing and then driving kids everywhere, and I was just like spread so thin, and my teenagers were requiring more and more time to do their work, whereas my younger kids, you know, didn't need as much time, or maybe not as intense of time, I guess I should say. And so that's when I was like, I think there's a need here where the older kids need to start coming together to find quality peers and to find have more time to work on their scholar projects as well. And then I was also like, it would not be so bad as well if parents were just offering one class, you know, just like offering to mentor one class instead of having to help in junior school and mentor a scholar project. That's a lot to ask some families, and that was happening with some of the families, not all of the families, but some of the families at DLA. And so that was just something that I
Are you making
could
that,
see that.
Are you making that distinction because at Fire Canyon you just did the older?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Fire Canyon, that's when I was like, we need to just do older kids. And so that specifically is a scholar project school. It's meant for kids that are 12 and older. We originally started with 14 and older, but there was a really high demand for the younger students. And so we opened the doors like a year or two in for 12 and older. So that one is a really awesome school. I know that Randy has just been elected the chairman again, and it's doing really well. My son just graduated from there, and yeah, it was really awesome. It was awesome. So anyway, that's another one. Another one that is happening right now is Redstone Leadership Academy. And that one is still in infancy stages. The first year it started, it was just a Shakespeare class with one mentor. And then the next year we had grown to like, I'm not really sure how many. We had like 15 maybe families, but there were 12 scholars. And so we offered a Key of Liberty class, and then there were like 18 pre-scholars, which means that there were kids between 11 and 12 years old. So that one is also happening, and that one's growing. So we're hoping, the hope is that that one will also serve as like a sister school to Fire Canyon, because I know that they get full very easily every year. And the demand seems to be really high, especially for those high school students. So anyway, those are the Commonwealth schools in the area. I hope I'm explaining the difference between I hope I explained that like. Okay.
And there is Hurricane.
Oh, yes, and then there's Hurricane. There's a Hurricane Valley Commonwealth School, and they are a family school as well. They do 0 to 18, and they have amazing mentors. I don't know why we didn't do a constitutional bowl this year, but they kick butt every year. So But yeah, anybody have any questions?
So you're going to give me
10 minutes.
either 1 or 2 hours, right?
That would stay.
Randy and I will be here all night. Okay, Thomas Jefferson Education. Another name for it is leadership education, because that is the purpose of is creating children who will be leaders. But actually, at its really core, it's just that, and it's called Thomas Jefferson Education because the idea is that Thomas Jefferson was this very well-rounded individual who got an education in many different areas, not just in one area. He wasn't just a scientist. He was a gardener. I mean, wouldn't even call him a gardener. What is he? Some kind of like agricultural genius. He was also a scientist in other ways and politician, and so many areas of breadth and depth. And that's kind of the idea that we're looking for with leadership education. So when we're looking at it for our family, I think a lot of times it gets misnamed as it's just focusing on the mind, but it's not just that. It's the mind and the heart. So those two things combined are what is needed for a good leader. And you think about who are some good leaders that you know. And they don't just know a lot of things, but they also touch your heart. If you know them personally, they love you. If you don't know them personally, you identify with the things that they are passionate about, and that's the heart part. There's a story that Simon Sinek talks about in Start With Why, and one of the very first TED Talks, and he goes up to this man who is actually just like walking along a street. I'm thinking of a European street, maybe in the 1800s, because there's a lot of people who are laying bricks and several different people. And he goes up to two particular right next to each other, both laying bricks. And they look like they're doing the exact same thing. I mean, put the brick, lay the mortar on there, put the next brick. It has to be done pretty precisely, but they're in a groove, both of them, and they're doing the same thing. And he goes up to the first man and he's like, so what are you building? And he's like, a wall. And it's like, okay, it really does look like a wall. Then he goes to the next person who's doing what looks to be the exact same thing. And he just kind of wants to make sure. And he says, what are you building? And he says, a cathedral. And that is what we're doing as we are educating our children. We are not just looking at the bricks, but it's who are they becoming? Yes, it's a wall, but it's so they can become this magnificent person that God created them to be. So much more than we can even imagine. And I believe that we need God's help to know what it is that He's wanting us to help create in that process. And keeping in mind that it is this vision of, and that's one of the pillars of LEMI, one of the ladders is vision. And that's why I love, for me, when I found Thomas Jefferson Education, it was actually through Tiffany, and it was kind of at the same time as LEMI. So they've always been mixed together for me. But there is, I will explain just the Thomas Jefferson principles, but to me, that's just so important. And so that's part of that heart and having this vision for where they're going and why. So if we go to the next one, Aristotle talking about educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. A true education does not consist merely in the acquiring of a few facts of science, history, literature, or art, but in the development of character. So really what I believe that they are principles that were not invented by the DeMills. I think they are principles that, well, actually, if you talk to them, which Tiffany was mentored by Oliver. So, I mean, I think and at least reading their works, correct me if I'm wrong, they did a lot of study of educational principles, which I also did. And there are so many principles that have been taught for a couple of centuries. And they really condensed them all together and brought what they felt like were the truest ones relating to leadership specifically, and then created these keys and phases and a way to put it in one book that that kind of went across a lot of different fields, a lot of different even genres, I would say, like Montessori is part of it. The work of Maria Montessori played a hand in what they wrote in their book. So that's what I really see more of what the DeMilles and Thomas Jefferson Education did, is they brought together so many other educational researchers and developers and brought it into what we call now as TJEd, or leadership education. So this idea that children are unique, that they have this beautiful potential, that it's eternal, it's beyond what we can even imagine. And our oldest daughter recently had twins. They're almost 3 months. And it's so fun to see, because one is a boy and one is a girl. And we've never had twins in our family before, but you see these two little babies raised by the same parents at the exact same time, exposed to the same things, and yet they're so different. They are unique, and we're getting to see it in this moment. We saw it today. Little girl was like lighting up, and little boy is just like mellow as can be. They're just different. That's this unique stuff that we're talking about. But also, it's not our responsibility as parents we can't make them learn. They're not just these vessels to be poured into, but it's about them stepping into what they've been given by God, the choice to learn. Yeah, we can reward, we can punish them into learning some things, but actually it's them choosing. And ultimately, that's what we want. We want them to choose into this great cathedral life that we can see for them and that God sees for them. And so often in their, especially adolescent eyes, they lose sight of. And I think what our role is to help them see that again and to remember and to help give them some sparks to light them up, help them to find what they love so much. So classics and mentors are the key of the 7 keys. There are 7 keys that Thomas Jefferson Education is based on, but we won't actually go into all those because that would be part of the hour or 2. But anyway, okay, let's keep going. John Taylor Gatto, one of my favorite educational researchers. He's amazing. We'll keep going. Tiffany Earl, I love this quote from, I don't even know what book this is from, but I love this because to me, this just embodies what we want in our youth. Not just like, what do I have to do now? I got to read this book and then I got to do this paper. And what else do I need to do before I can go play with my friend? That's not what we're looking for. Now, that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened in all of our homes, right? Because sometimes it gets to that place, but we're looking to this place where we want the child to smell it, to taste it, to feel it, to breathe it. I want them to be with Reuben in the library. That's from The Chosen. I want them to be, studying Freud. I want them to be with Newton in the loft of his barn, studying and calculating. I want the youth to be with Lincoln and a book by the fireplace. And that is that heart part, that they actually care. And that's, I know, what we spent a lot of time working on in Fire Canyon is how do we get them to care? And I've been a mentor in a class where my husband and I were teaching Quest 1 a couple of years ago with Ethan. I'm just seeing some parents. And Charlie wasn't in it yet. Anyway, and I remember we were like, it's kind of flat. They just don't really care. And it's just words, it's just the mind if they don't care. Because I want them to care not just for 6 months. I want them to care for 2 years, for 4 years. I want them to care for 10 years, 20 years, for 50 years when they are grandparents and they have little ones and they can open up a book or they can share a story, they can teach something. That's what I want. And so it's about helping them to care. And so us as parents, we're trying to choose what is it that we want them to care about? How can we help them? What do they already care a little bit about? How can we fan the flame of that and help them to grow that desire and for us to help them see, like, that's amazing. That's incredible. Look at what you did. I'm just going to give an example. My 12-year-old son, what he was currently caring about for the past 2 weeks. He's in charge of the chickens. He does not like animals. We live in Diamond Valley. He is the only 12-year-old boy there who doesn't want to be a farmer or a gardener or a horseman. And all of you out there who wish you lived in that place, I'm so sorry. He's like, no, no, no. But he's still in charge of the chickens. And in charge means water every day, food every day, get the eggs, all the things. And when there's a problem with it, you got to figure out, he's like, there's a hole in the water bucket. We have 2 water buckets and now it's the summer. And he's like, I think it has to go to two times a day watering them. And I'm like, okay, no, he doesn't want to go out there 2 times a day. So he's like, we got to figure out a way. There's got to be a way that they can be watered automatically. So we live in a computer world. I'm not like only just going to open up a book from 1800s. We're going to start searching online. So we search online together. There are a billion of different ways you can automatically water your chickens. Why we didn't do it 2 years ago is because I'm not in charge of the chickens. He's in charge of them. And he just now thought, I want this. I want this. And so he's very motivated. Anyway, this is a long story, but we ended up getting something on Amazon that only cost like $26, which I think is really cool. And he and his dad, but you had to build it together. It just had some of the parts and the pieces. And then we were out of town for 3 days on this awesome backpacking trip with him and my husband anyway, and some of our grandkids. And we put one of the other brothers at home in charge of checking to see that the watering actually got done. And he just took, this afternoon when I was pulling up these slides, he's like, it worked. He was so thrilled. He's like, I didn't see the chickens actually eating because these little
But they're
bowls,
not dead.
That's exactly what he said. He's like, the water was still in the bucket and the chickens are still alive. Because he knows there's a possibility that they can die. We've had dead chickens before, not thankfully because of him. But anyway, that's what we're talking about. Now, it doesn't have to be, does he actually, I don't know how much he actually cares about the chickens. I'm sorry. He just isn't that much of an animal lover. But it is his responsibility, and he does care about that. And that is the kind of thing we're talking about. Find what they care about. For him, his genius and what he does care about is the mechanics of how things work. Making a physical problem in the world and finding a solution to it. That is his genius, and that is what we try to spend most of our time, what I try to facilitate for him. Here are the 4 phases of leadership education. So there's core, which, this is a picture of little Gabby who's going on her mission in 2 weeks. So the things about core is focusing on what's right and wrong, family values and relationships, love of work and play, and some accountability. And so it just is showing some examples of what her life is like when she was this age. And we say age, Oliver DeMille says plus or minus 80 years or 99 years or something. So it's not specifically an age thing, but there is in core. And something that Tiffany talked a lot about, we created this program called Family Foundations. And as we were looking at how to put the principles of LEMI into a form that parents of younger children can understand, we kind of talked a lot about how core and love of learning are really combined together. And I really personally like that because I think they want to learn so much at this age. You don't want to be like, no, if it's not right or wrong, we're not going to learn it. Of course not. They want to learn about colors, learn about colors. They want to learn about Play-Doh. They want to learn about rockets, whatever it is, like learn. But remembering that these are the most important things, and we don't want to forget about these. Love of learning, typically as they start getting older, 8 to 12 is what this is. They are learning about what they do love. And like my 12-year-old son, he loves mechanical things. He's starting to learn to love math, which I feel like is really important for him specifically because I can see him being an engineer and he's going to need some of those skills. Maybe it'll be different in 5 years with AI or 5 months, but who knows? Projects, accountability. This is our son, Ben, who is now married and 24. But you see, like reading time, math time, this was, I think that's St. George Children's Museum, where they had that display at one point with $1 million. And then scholar phase is the third of the 4 phases in Thomas Jefferson Education. And this is when you get into Commonwealth Schools, and LEMI projects, which Tiffany's going to share with us. So classics and mentors, individual ownership for education, and hard work. So these are just some examples of some of my kids in Scholar Phase, and I see just so many of you out here who have had children in Scholar Phase, and I brought a couple of pictures of some students that we've had in the past in Scholar Phase, and I just love to see the growth. I love to see them choosing to do hard things, and sometimes that's one of the things I love about what LEMI has taught me about Thomas Jefferson Education, because it's not just about only the things that you love. Because if my son, the chicken hating mechanical son, if he only, well, I don't know, Oliver Jamil says if you focus on that and if you go in deep enough, then you're going to get all the different subjects. But one of the things I love about LEMI and the Scholar Projects is it helps them to get this well-rounded education. He did take Key of Liberty with my son and husband this past year, and he learned some things about government. He got so passionate about, he really, really loved The Proper Role of Government by Ezra Taft Benson. And that got into his soul. So much so that anytime anyone in the house talks about a current event, he's like, but that doesn't follow the proper role. They can't do that. And he's like, what are we going to do about this? And all of us are like, I love the enthusiasm and the vision of 12-year-olds. Anyway, so Thomas Jefferson Education, a way to help us create these leaders, these beautiful cathedral children that are in our homes.
Guess it's my turn.
It's your turn.
Okay, so they asked me to tell a little bit about what LEMI is. And LEMI stands for Leadership Education Mentoring Institute. So it's based on the principles of leadership education, which she went over, like she said, 10 minutes of 2 hours worth to just give you an overview that we're educating our hearts and our minds. And what we do is we actually train parent mentors. That's what we do. We train them in parent mentoring and in the combined mentoring where they can mentor the scholar projects. We even are developing a lot of projects for discovery phase, the younger ages. And so if you want to look at some of the scholar projects, Amy so kindly brought them. There's some binders over there. They do very specific things. They are project-based, so it's not science taught without history. They're project-based, which makes the kids not have to ask why, because the why is in it. And so the other thing that we do, we also train leaders. We train you if you want to learn how to set up a Commonwealth school. And then you get a lot of practice in leadership and in governance. So those are the three things that we do. And I thought, what could I do with you guys in 10 minutes that would be valuable? So I thought I would workshop one principle with you. Because if you could go home tonight knowing one thing you could do to help one of your kids, then that would be meaningful and really worth your time, along with finding out some information. So I have a little video. If it goes really quickly. So this is my granddaughter a couple years ago. This only lasts 10 seconds.
Oh. Try it. Okay, Mom.
Okay, so here's my question. What is her work? What is she working on? What? Okay, motor skills. What else?
I think problem solving.
Problem solving. Good. What else?
Perseverance.
Perseverance.
Figuring out how the world works.
Figuring out how the world works. Okay, so What is her work? Play. Discovery. It was really funny when I was videoing her, she had far more screws that fell over than got screwed in. Okay, because I watched her for about a half an hour. She happens to have very, like, some kids can't do this till they're 4 and she was only 2. Okay, but she can persevere. She has always been able to since she was really, really little. And she literally had more screws fall over than she screwed in. And she just kept doing it. So I want you for a second to think of a child, one of your children who is struggling or that you're struggling with them. Write their name down in your phone, in your notebook. Everybody think of a child. Okay, have you got it? I'm going to ask you a question. What is their work right now? Write down you have 30 seconds to brainstorm it all. What's their work? Sure. Well, okay, let's do this really quick. Who'd you think of?
Well, I did 2. I have 2 kids, so I just put both of them.
Okay, tell me one of them.
Kyla.
Okay, how old is Kyla?
She's 14.
Okay, everybody, what's her work? Tell me.
To learn.
To learn. What else?
Become independent.
To become independent. What else?
Puberty.
Puberty. What else? Social. What else? She's 14.
Being respectful.
Being respectful.
Do boys like me?
Do boys like me? Okay, now tell me a little bit about Kyla herself, thinking about it.
She's very athletic. She's tenacious. She's friendly.
What's her struggle right now?
Maybe a lot too self-centered.
Okay, good. And what's your struggle with her right now?
Helping her see beyond her scope and her friends.
Okay, very good. Okay, everybody, you got 30 seconds. That child that you wrote down, what is their work? Write it down, everything you can think of. So what's being developed? What do they spend time thinking about? What do they spend time doing? What do they run away from? What do they not want to do? Or what are they doing all the time? What is their work? We don't ask this enough. What's a 2-year-old's work? How many of you have a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old who's climbing? Does anybody have a baby whose work is to climb? Okay, what does that mean your work is? If you have a baby who's climbing, what?
Safety.
Safety.
Come alive. Damage control.
Absolutely. This is the key. If you can name your child's work, then it informs your work. It tells you what your work is. And then you don't have to be upset about anything. Let's watch this video again. I want you to watch this. Because the mom nails her work. Okay?
Oh,
Try it.
okay, Mom.
Okay. So now that you have some of your child's work written down, what does that tell you about your work? I want you to talk to the person next to you. Okay, in groups of 2 or 3, I want you to tell each other in 2 minutes. you get 1 minute. This is my child. This is their work. This is what it tells me about my work. This is my work because of now I know what my work is. Okay, see if you can figure it out together. Okay, you have a child. Did you do it?
I did it.
Okay, who'd you do it for?
Henry.
Okay, what's his work?
Chickens and the dead hang on the ninja,
Okay.
and fitting in with the family, fitting in with his friends, talking to people. Those are some of his hardest ones. Sticking with things, not getting frustrated when things are too hard.
What did you feel like that told you about your work? Any ahas on what your work is with what his is?
Yeah, I think just feeling that he helping him to believe that he's capable and that he can do the hard things.
How's he going to feel that from you?
Doing a lot of work on increasing my belief in him, even when he's not showing me that belief, that evidence.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's really big. So just you knowing he's going to do hard things. He's going to
And
do
that he's
hard-
going to fail sometimes, and it's okay.
Yeah. And it's the only way. Kentucky Fried Chicken. If
Yeah.
it's true, 1,000 no's,
Yeah.
1,000 fails, or 1,000 whatever, and each time he'll learn.
Yeah.
And you'll be okay with it. Here's the deal. Your work is to be okay every time he fails.
Yes.
And that's so hard to
Yes.
do.
That's your work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so every time he fails, you say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heavenly Father. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are amazing. All of us, we had some good ahas on this end. So with that principle, finding what your child's work is, like for instance, with a 1-year-old who's climbing, instead of getting mad that they're climbing everything, you think, oh my gosh, this is their work. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. You know, having the 2-year-old have temper tantrums once or twice a day, we say they are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. But what does it tell me about my work? I don't need to have the temper tantrum. Oh yeah, my job is to regulate myself and sit down, and when they're ready to crawl into my arms, help them learn how to regulate. But they're doing their work. This is her work. My 11, if I have a 10, 11, or 12-year-old that's moving into, going through puberty and having these huge surges of emotions and chemicals and maybe they throw something, maybe they slam the door, maybe they can't get along with anybody right now, or maybe they're just highly ambitious and, whatever it is, however it's coming out in your child, that's their work. That's their work. And to say, I trust this. I trust their work. I trust the process. It's okay to fail 1,000,000 times. That's the only way you learn to walk. Every time they fall, it is the only way to learn. I don't need to be afraid of it. Me being afraid of it, that's not helping. How many of you get afraid of it? Okay, the choice is to be afraid of it and try and control it, or to back up and say, this is right, this is good. Now, what's my job? What's my job? My job is to not be afraid of it, but to trust it, to be grateful for it, and to manage myself, right? And then to see past this little phase of work, because they're going to get onto something else, but to realize and to really see when they're past it, and to believe in them and help them see it. With the 1-year-old, you're going to baby-proof the house a little bit. I remember we had to buy a bumper pad. Like instead of a hard helmet, we bought a soft helmet for the 1-year-old. That would, I don't know why she couldn't sit up without falling backward on the tile, but she couldn't. She just had, she was crawling. She'd been sitting for a long time. She did not need to be falling backward. We had to buy that bumper thing for her because her work of not falling backward meant we needed to buy her a bumper pad. So it informs us of our work. So when we can find and nail it for them and say they're doing exactly what they need to do. And if you have a child who has skipped a milestone for what's usual for their age, but you can nail that milestone, it doesn't matter. Because now that you've nailed it, and now that you've identified it and named it, now you can do your job of facilitating that growth. So don't worry if they're 7 and they should have learned it when they were 5. Don't worry if they were 16 and they should have learned it when they were 12. Don't worry about that. I had a 2.5-year-old granddaughter who hadn't learned how to go to sleep peacefully. All she could do was scream herself to sleep every night. She'd been in a traumatic environment long enough. That is the only thing she knew. Even when we took her out of that environment, it didn't matter. She could only scream bloody murder to go to bed. That is skipping a big milestone, a big one. But we could say, we've got our work cut out for us now. It informs us. She needs to learn to be able to be at peace and to be calm and to feel safe and secure before she goes to sleep at night. So what are we going to do? And it took 4 months. And sometimes she'll go back into it. Sometimes she just has to do whatever it takes to make it so she's kicking and screaming. But then we do our work again. I'm telling you, don't worry if they've missed a milestone. Let it go. But take the time to lovingly observe what your children's work is and where they're at. And then it tells you what yours is. It's so powerful. This is a little teeny principle. This is what we do at LEMI. She talked about something that we have for parents. It's called Family Foundations. It's a 15-minute, this is one principle. It's like a 15-minute lesson like this each week that you do that is life-changing. It's life-changing. You apply this principle in your home and you remember, I have a choice. I'm being really afraid of their work. Isn't that silly? I'm so afraid. Instead of rejoicing because they're doing exactly what they need to do. They've got to fall down 999 times. Then they're going to walk. I trust this process. It's going to work. If you want to get a feel for more of the mentoring that we give to you, then you can get one of these flyers. And I would suggest getting the Family Foundations membership. It's about $300 in value. We often will put it on sale for $111. I made a flyer for you that it's $49 to buy the membership for the year. And every week it's one principle, okay? Then you get to experience being mentored. That's what we do, is we train you as mentors.
One of the videos, I'm in a kayak in my swimming pool.
She is.
Yes.
It's full of video and everything.
It's very embarrassing. My kids love to bring it up. They're like, remember the canoe, Mama?
I am so happy to be here and to meet all of you and to be with these incredible women. And so just thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I hope that you found something to take home that will help you with your children.
Okay, so Tiffany, was what you just talked about. Like, my child is a 14-year-old who's super smart, but his executive functioning skills are overwhelmed by his distractions. And so, like, how do I know if I'm fearful and controlling? Because I'm like, you're not gonna be able to keep a freaking job at McDonald's if you can't figure out how to like follow through with stuff, you know? And so how do I set aside this fearful controlling and start to, because he still needs support. It's like, just like he bought the bumper, I need to help him with that, but I feel like neither of us are happy with the situation, so it's clearly not right, you know?
Could you define executive function, and then I'll tell you one of the principles.
So mostly, like, I mean, these LEMI classes, he's living Sword so far, and I've seen him grow, but so much of the growth these years have been like, okay, what do you need to do? Like, where are we at? What needs to, like, every week, like, what's the plan for this week? And then every day, like, okay, what should you be working on? Did you get this done? You know, like, that's exactly, like, I love the classes,
Yeah.
but to some extent, it's like.
But are you hovering too much, and have you allowed him to fail?
I would say he failed somewhat last year.
Okay,
Sure.
yeah.
With Keith.
I really like what you said, that it's really normal for that age. Raise your hand if you agree. Okay. And let me ask you a question. Have you implemented the weekly parent mentor meeting with him?
I mean, I'd say our planning session might be a little bit like that. It's probably
Okay.
not like a loving, fun, pleasant.
Okay. This is a key. This is really funny. If when I see this particular difficulty, then if I am doing the parent mentor meeting, which is a planning and which is him making commitments, not just goals, but here's what I'll do and I'll report back to you in a week. You want to wean him off of the daily eventually. And he may not be weaned off of the daily until he's 16.
You might start with the daily.
Yeah, you're going to start with the daily and say, you're going to say what's going to happen Monday, what's going to happen Tuesday. But Monday, you're going to say, please report back to me and tell me if you did it. Okay, but you're not going after him. He's going to come to you and report back. This is how you develop integrity. So he's going to come back to you and say, I did my Monday, or I didn't, I moved it to Tuesday. Those are his two options, or I'm failing. Then Tuesday, he said, I did my Monday today, so I moved my Tuesday to Wednesday. Or I got them both done, or I didn't do either. But it's his job to come find you and report back. You just tell him that. This is your biggest job. Your biggest job is to come find me before bed and report back. Okay? And don't go find him. At the end of the week, say, honey, you went all weekend, didn't report back to me. Can we do it again? Please. Can we do it again? Don't go find him. Just get him to report back to you daily. Okay? And that's baby stepping. Then he needs, if you possibly can, and this is going to require you and your other half, with one of you, he needs a weekly fun date. If not, at least a monthly. But you cannot talk about anything that you are freaking afraid of, or that fills you with anxiety, or that you really need to talk to him about on that date. That date is led by him, and it's simple snow cone. It's simple going to a game. It's just out, and he gets to choose what you talk about. He chooses it, and you're going to do everything you can to bite your tongue and not give any advice. You're listening. All that this is for is to build relationship. That's it. Build relationship, build relationship, build relationship. You watch. Pretty soon he's going to come report back to you. And remember, your mind is not whether he did it or didn't. Right now you are only looking for, is he reporting back to me? And you say, okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. What he's going to commit to, here's how you differentiate. He's going to have a goal of what he's going to do each day. He's going to report back to you. The commitment is reporting back to you. Eventually, he will be able to make a commitment for each day. But at first, his commitment is just to report back. I reached my goal. I didn't reach my goal. I moved it to this day. And you say, okay, great, thanks.
So what does a parent-mentor meeting look like?
A parent-mentor meeting looks like you might have one or two things to talk about, and he might have one or two things to talk about. So the most important things to you, you bring up, and you guys talk about it. Maybe one thing, maybe it's
Not
a
more
schedule.
than one negative thing.
Yeah, for
We have
sure.
a couple of videos in the Family Foundations.
Yes, if you get this, it really goes into that. But you can set up the plan for the week. You can teach one principle. You can basically have one thing that you're hoping he's going to learn, and then he will eventually learn to trust you to bring what he wants to talk about. And maybe it's that he can't stand sharing a bedroom anymore. If you've got a 14-year-old daughter, that's what her problem is. I don't know, but the hardest thing is going to be to hear and then facilitate and not be afraid of how to help meet this need. For him to learn to become self-aware enough to be able to tell you what he actually needs, I mean, come on, how many of your husbands can do it? All right? Giving them a chance when they're 14, do you know how amazing that is? To give them a chance to be self-aware enough to bring something to your attention. It's just practice. It's just practice. You're listening, and then you're going to problem solve together.
And we almost ruined a relationship with one of our sons because the mentor meetings were too long, and they were too much us teaching, holding accountable. It should be 80 to 90% listening. And we learned that a really, really hard way. Don't.
What age would you? I mean, all ages or?
This
I've got,
this
like,
is
2 to
this is
2 to
especially 10, 11, and up. Okay, the younger kids are going when they are working in the discovery age of 0 to 10 or 11. They're working with you, and believe it or not, working with you is how they develop empathy. This is crazy. My son's an occupational therapist. He took a 12-week advanced course on empathy, and guess how it's developed? When they do projects with you. So you're informally mentoring those young ones all the time because you're doing things together. You're making a pie together, you're planting a seed together, you're cleaning their room together. They learn to do a little bit on their own. You know, if they're in piano lessons the first year of their life, you're doing it together. You know, until they can do it. Maybe it depends on the culture in your home, but pretty soon they can do some on their own. But if they're not on their own yet, then it's together and it's fun. So those are a little bit more informal when you're listening to them and they're saying what they want and then you facilitate it. Does that make sense?
For older kids that are still learning empathy, same thing?
Same thing. Projects together, because you have to communicate. You have a common goal and you're learning to talk about this common goal. That's how you develop empathy.
With parents or with any family members?
Any family members. Any group doing a common goal together, that is how you develop empathy.
I just had an example real quick that my older boys were helping at a service project in the neighbors, and my 12-year-old that left mowing all the lawns to him. Like, okay, he went and mowed the front lawn. He's like, I don't want to do the back lawn. I'm like, no, I haven't mowed the lawn in a long time. And so how about I go out and we'll do it together? And we had 2 lawnmowers, and we started on, and he thought it was the coolest thing. He's like, my mom mowing the lawn.
Is a win. That's a win. He let you know. That is a huge win.
I want to share something that's not a win. So our family council was becoming so lectury that my little 6-year-old started calling it kill a council.
Oh.
Realized we had to just change some things after that.
Yeah. We actually did this kind of parent mentor stuff with our girls better when they were younger. It's kind of fizzled out, unfortunately. I think it should be reignited. But they really enjoyed it even as younger kids.
That is good. That is good to hear.
Talking.
Yes.
We would have a timer, this is our 30-minute time with you. And they had so much to say in those 30 minutes that, we didn't have a lot to say, but we would take a second to be like, oh, by the way, we'd like to work on this and, do that. So I realized we were doing that.
I'm so glad you shared that.
They really just enjoyed talking, even as littles,
Good.
Yeah, and
4, 5, 6. And,
I think it's great. Like if they want to do it,
have you to themselves.
Because if you have it as a routine with the older ones, of course, the 4-year-old, the 6-year-old want to do it. How amazing is that? You're in there with mom and dad, like jumping on the bed. I mean, it's just fun. I think it's
mom and dad all to yourself.
Right.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Is there an ideal length of time for those peer meetings?
It's going to depend on the child, but like she said, don't go 2 hours.
Less than
30 minutes.
A lot less than you think.
I'd say like 10 minutes to an hour.
I'd say 10 to 20. Yeah.
Like it.
And maybe you do. You guys, most of you know Leslie Leonard. She stands by our mentor meetings have to be walking around the block. So it's like we walk and we do it. She's like sitting down with them was just not working. So sometimes just think outside the box. If it's not working well, just stop it for a few weeks and do something else. Don't be like me. We will do this or we'll die. Well, someone's gonna die.
and it doesn't mean like she said, sometimes an hour. It doesn't mean that this is your teenager who loves to talk debrief. Those are different. Some people just need to debrief and talk a lot.
Well, yeah, and that could be 2 hours
or whatever. It's
those 3 hours in
that's
exactly.
true.
It's right when you want to go to bed, and they're very important.
Okay, I want to go back to their work and deciding what is their work. The question I had was like about something like video games, where I'm like, is this their work? And if so, how do I know how long they should be spending on it versus when should I be trying to like facilitate something else?
I had this similar question, except it's with like nails. My daughter will redo her nails 3 times in a day. So it's not a video game, but it's also kind of a lot.
Can I?
You talk.
Can I say something? I think that those 2 things are very, very different. One is expressing artistic abilities, and so I think she might have artistry as her work. So, whereas the video game, what kind of video game is he playing? And what kind of relationship does he have with the technology? That might be where the work is. Because if they're playing Minecraft, maybe they really do want to learn how to build or engineer something. If they're playing Doom where they're shooting aliens all day, maybe marksmanship is their work. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a silver lining in there, and I know it's hard, especially with technology today. We have to kind of like really figure it out because that can be such a drain and it can suck all the time away from us. I know I watch my kids do it all the time. So, but there is something there that you can work with. It's just figuring out what it is. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, because I was thinking, well, what is he getting out of it? And sometimes it's the interaction, like his friend comes over and he's getting the social aspect out of it, or he'll play it with his dad. But sometimes it's just bored and it's keeping him entertained, right? And keeping him from doing something else, having to find.
But it is dopamine, yeah, because it is they're getting the dopamine hit. It's very quick. It's very, very fulfilling.
And it changes their dopamine levels. It changes. It actually changes them chemically. If you've got a child who is scrolling, or if you are, or doing video games, and you're talking about the chemicals in their body are being impacted big time. What were you going to say?
I think that kind of leads into a little bit of my question. My question around the work is, so I have this list now that I made, and I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking, how much of that do I communicate with my child? And so with the video games, to me, like that is something where it's the work there, to me, is the work of understanding what's happening, the work of understanding what's happening to your brain, what's happening, why you're loving this, why you want to keep going, and how you feel that needs to fit into your life, and how you can have control over that so it doesn't have control over you. So to me, that's the work, not necessarily the video game, but
It's pretty
how
cool.
much of that do you communicate with your child? I think in the video games, it's pretty important to communicate that with them.
Yeah.
But with other things, should I be saying, your work is, I recognize
Ask them.
Work is.
Ask them what they think their work is. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I can hear my children trying to describe the work that is going into a video game, and I mean that doesn't mean you're going to agree with it. You can have a boundary and not allow it, but yeah.
I struggle, and I'll just say this, like I struggle a lot with video games because they give a very false sense of accomplishment in a world where, and this is where I know that like you are overstimulated and it's time to be done. And sometimes that happens 5 minutes in, because when they are getting angry and they're investing their real emotions into something that is not real, I don't think that's healthy. I know that's not healthy. And so that's when I'm like, okay, you are disconnecting reality at that moment. You are investing something, a part of yourself that isn't real, that's never going to give back to you in the way that you think it's going to, right? And so there's like this very important distinction that I think a lot of parents need to recognize. One of the best books I ever read was Reset Your Child's Brain, and then The Anxious Generation. And so I would highly recommend reading those and talk about those and do those exercises with your youth, because it's very important for them to know and understand, like what she had said, like what is happening with your brain.
And now there's a version, their Anxious Generation. They have one for kids, The Amazing Generation.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's not like a graphic novel, but it's like,
Wait, say that again. The amazing.
it's called it's either The Amazing Generation or The Awesome Generation, but it's the same author as The Anxious Generation.
Oh, cool.
I think it's The Amazing Generation.
Yeah.
But, so.
I had another thought to what you were talking about. Sorry, in the green shirt. I don't know your name. Becky. Hi. What's your last name? Holman. I know I've seen your name places. Okay. I was just thinking one more thing. I loved what Tiffany was explaining about having the mentor meetings. And I I like to almost anytime when I'm facing something with my children, I look at kind of two parts of it, and it's really the what am I doing with my heart inside, and then what am I doing, like when you're talking about what's my work as a parent. I think there's almost always two parts to my work. One is what am I doing in my heart, and then what am I doing actually with them? What is the specific thing I'm going to say or do or new system to put in place? So I just think that it's really important to think about what's the thing to do in your heart. What is the thing that is worrying you, frustrating you about what he's doing? And find a way to process that. I call it heart clearing, but I think we all need a tool. We probably need like a tool of, there's 20 things to process your emotions. You could Google it, AI it, process my emotions. How could I do it? You could say, I'm going to go for a walk. I got 20 minutes. I'm going to go out for 10 minutes and I'm going to just say out loud what I'm so frustrated about. I can't believe he's not doing this again. I can't believe he's on the video game and I just told him to stop, and blah, 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 blah. You're just expressing it. You're just getting it out. The 10 minutes is up because you got to get back because you only had 20 minutes. You turn back, and in that turnaround, say a prayer, have a moment of calm, something to switch, and then the whole way back, gratitude. And just, I'm so grateful. We were talking about gratitude. Even though he's doing this, he chose to take the class. He's talking to me about it. You're just thinking of good things, just kind of replacing some of what that, this is just an example of a processing tool that you can use. But all of us need to be processing, because if we just take action without doing some healing of our hearts, because when our children make poor choices, there's going to be negative emotions that we have because of what they've done. And it's not just the negative emotion about them, but now we have a negative emotion about ourselves because we made this person. We are ultimately responsible for every stinking thing they do, good or bad. Not actually, but we kind of take that on ourselves. And so we've got to proactively be working to clear those negative emotions and get back to a place of peace and calm. And like when I'm at my best, I'm doing this every other day. I kind of, for a while, my husband and I did like odd days, we would do negative processing. And heart clearing is what we try to call it now because it sounds a lot more positive, but it is, that's what it is.
The thing is that the child feels it.
Oh yeah.
They know it.
Oh yeah.
They know it.
Yeah. Just like when you come in the house from a super stressful day, or you were at Costco when there was only one Costco in St. George, and you come in and you just like, you don't even say anything. You even have like a smile on your face, and they can feel, and they run because they're like, don't go by mom right now. She went to Costco. That's the kind of feel, like they can feel. That's the feel.
Take your kids to Costco.
I have a question. So, we're talking about this video game thing, and it's making me think. So, just so for perspective, I have teenagers and I have my little guy, but I also have stepsons that are in their 30s now. So we have children spanning the generations. So I have observed this in my boys throughout the generations. And so you take my older boys that are, adults. One of them always struggled with video games. Always struggled with it. The other one didn't. He just didn't. One day, he just literally announced, I am done with it. He was like 14. I'm done with it. He was interested in girls and art and, being a great, just being a cool, interesting person. He was like, I don't have time in my life. Whereas his older brother struggles to this day, And so one of my teenagers, I can tell, it's the same personality, right? It's just he's susceptible to that more so than another personality type might be. But it also, I want to broaden this out because my question, if I can formulate it, is how do we know that we're right
to worry about the things, because it's not always video games where it's obvious, right? You know, sometimes we have this struggle with our kid who is just the way that they are, and if we could get outside of ourselves and just be, they're the way they are, they're totally fine. You know, like a scientist that's born into a musical family or something. You know what I mean? What would it feel like if you quit worrying? Yeah, I think we're all, you know, we think of ourselves as reasonable, rational, logical people who would know. I would know if the thing that bugs me, that really worries me about my kids, is it okay? Or is it a problem? Is it something that I really need to handle? Like my daughter, I can never see the floor in her room. I can never see it. And I feel like that's a problem. You know, I think that could be a problem. But then what if it's not? That's what you're asking. What if I'm wrong? And I could just, how beautiful. How do I know? Like, this is just a thing that makes them unique.
Raise your hand if you're really glad that she brought this question up, that it's already going to help you. Like, how beautiful.
I love that.
How beautiful to ask that question. What if this is okay?
The rest of us are too rigid. We're like, no, you have to see the floor.
I was going to say, I'm that kid that had the messy floor in her room, and I'm okay.
She's amazing.
I'm a mom, but it's okay.
It's okay. We had someone back here.
Teaching the skill, like that. But like you said, I'm okay. I have a son that's on the other side now, and he's getting his companions to like clean up, and he's turning off the lights, and he's doing this. And so I think in hindsight, it's more this is my comfort place in home. You know, this is where I don't have to put on a show. This is where I don't have to be all neat and tidy and pretend I've got it all together in the room. And I think that was more just like, this is my space, you know, for him. And now he's out, and so I strive to see it in a different way.
Going to the principle of the question that you're asking, because this is really important, because this question should be asked. This is a genius question to ask. And to find your way into the answer, it has to do with coercion and control versus agency and inspiration and freedom. Inviting and freedom. And so we have to know where we begin and where we end and they start. We have to know, am I so worried about this that I've moved over into coercion and that I'm really not okay if they say no? Or am I in the teaching and the loving and the showing? Like where am I? And to ask the questions, because there are some things that as parents, it's up to us. We get to choose some things, like if video games are played in our home, you know. There are some things we get to choose. We could choose whether or not the rooms get cleaned every day. You know, we have to decide.
Choose what fight is worth fighting.
That too. We get to choose what battle to have, but a lot of it is to really ask, are they choosing this even though they know better? You know, and where do I let them or do I not? And you can only get that through inspiration, when to set the line, because one mom might know I'm going to say no to all video games, and another mom might feel inspired, I am not supposed to say no, and get that. You know, that's crazy, but you are the expert in your home. You get the right to get inspired.
I was just going to say this as a side note, maybe for the bedroom issue. One question maybe to ask is, do they have the management skills to actually be effective at cleaning? And do they have that skill? So do they have that skill maybe somewhere else that you see that skill? You know, are they really good at cleaning up like their chores or their jobs, or they're great at doing the dishes? You know, they know how to do a job and execute it well if it seems big. And so the room is just not something that they've chosen to do that with. You know, do they have that skill, or is it something that you need to teach?
Or are we having to go back to these skills right here, or to vision?
Like, what is the real issue? You know, is it
So it's just a personal preference thing. If my room's a mess, I don't care. But I have skills to take care of it if I wanted to. You know, there might be a difference there, possibly.
And do they have the tools to do it? Like, is it an organization thing? Do they have the shelves for it? Is there no way to put it? Like, you gotta look at, are you providing the tools to have it be the clean? Because that was one thing that growing up. I didn't have the tool. I had no closet. I had no drawers. I had a basket, but that was in all. And you probably didn't even know you needed them. So it's just like one of those things, like, do they have the, are you giving them the tools that they need to learn the skill that you're frustrated? I guess it could go on even just normal.
And maybe they need to do it with you.
Yeah,
until
they know.
Yeah.
But and also go back to that thing of when you're doing your mentor meeting, whether it's formal or informal, you're working on one thing at a time. And I could think of probably 10 to 50 things that each one of my children needs to be working on. I'm sure my husband could think of the same thing for me. Any person who knows me. But if I woke up every morning and was like, the 50 things, nobody can operate like that. It's too much. It's too much. And so it also has to do with, like with the inspiration, is this the one thing right now? Or is this a time where we got to do two because these two are so serious? But I don't know.
Another thought as far as like, did they have time to clean their room? Like, did they have time? They fit that in their schedule. Because I find sometimes our house gets really big messes because we're home for a few minutes, we get something out, and we go to rush out, and then we come, and then we're like, that. And so the house got messy because we didn't have time, or maybe
it wasn't in your schedule.
Yeah, we didn't have a schedule.
Yeah. Well, and we know Sally, she's like extraordinary. Like out of this world extraordinary with the things that she is capable of doing. And she's chosen not to clean her room right now. And is it because she needs to say in this one place of my life, like, I'm choosing this and this is my, like, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes.
Yeah, next time we get together, we'll practice spiritual eyes.
Because
with
if
that
she gets the vision of
with
what
that
she wants
skill,
to do.
you can nail it.
But there we go. So we could go through with the cleaning the room and look at, does she know what a clean room is, what a clean room's not? Does she have the skill to be able to clean this and clean that? Maybe she has the skill of cleaning the clothes, putting them away, but not the skill with the little knickknacks from this and that. So there's lots of skills involved there. What about just like the time management skill, because she only has 5 minutes snatch time in between dance and show choir and blah, 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 all the things. And so many skills, or even just the skill of saying no to this project or this friend because she made a commitment to herself to clean the room. I mean, that's just some example of skills. And abilities is, those kind of merge. You guys have heard me talk about this before, but abilities, it's just more of a character kind of traits. Like, does she have perseverance when it's like a big load of laundry and like the overwhelm? Does she have that? Does she have ability to delegate? Maybe she could delegate some of her room getting clean. One of my adult sons is paying my 12-year-old son to mow the lawn currently because it's his job, like being part of the family. And Henry's like, yeah, I'll take $15. So abilities, those are kind of like leadership things. Then mission. So those two, usually mission and vision, are the two aspects that we don't even look at typically when we're looking at a child and what they need, what we want them to accomplish, what we're hoping that they will accomplish. And this mission is the sense of, I have something that's really important to do. And it's be a part of this family. That's an example. It could be with the room. I have a mission to be a part of this family, and I have some belonging. Mission is sometimes hard one. Say it again.
Real estate. What are my responsibilities or obligations of what I own?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. And then vision is just the more overarching thing, like, who am I? What is my place in? Does it matter? Does the shirts on the floor, do they matter? That vision is bigger, and sometimes it's a vision thing. Like, they're just like not seeing the why. Vision is usually the why behind. And so you can use these as a diagnostic tool in anything. It could be academic, but it could also be any struggle they're having in their lives.
So do you usually do the math backwards? Like, that's the first time it's made sense to me.
Oh,
That's pretty cool.
I like to teach it backwards, yeah, because these are very concrete, much more knowledge and skills are really concrete. And then abilities gets a little bit harder, mission a little bit harder, vision a little, but thank you.
Almost kind of like a Maslow's,
Maslow's hierarchy, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 it is.
Realize that.
The specific, the details, genius, yeah.
All right, let's give them a round of applause.